The scream cut through the diner like shattered glass. It wasn't loud, but it was desperate, thin, and full of fear. A small voice trembling with belief rather than strength said the words that would change everything. "Daddy, please help her." For a single frozen moment, time seemed to stop. Plates hovered mid-air, conversations died on tongues, and one exhausted father sitting in a cracked vinyl booth felt his entire world snap into focus. He wasn't a hero, wasn't trained for violence, wasn't looking for trouble. He was just a man who had promised his daughter that as long as he breathed, she would never be alone in the dark. Before the story pulls you deeper, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and ordinary people doing extraordinary things, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Also, tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that need them. Marcus Hale had learned to survive quietly. Since his wife passed 3 years earlier, life had become a narrow road of double shifts, packed lunches, unpaid bills, and silent prayers whispered over a sleeping child. He worked nights as a warehouse loader and mornings as a school bus attendant, his body always tired and his mind always calculating how to stretch one more dollar. That evening, he had brought his 6-year-old daughter Rowan to the old roadside diner because it was the one place where she smiled without asking for anything expensive. The neon lights fascinated her, and the waitress always gave her an extra cherry on her milkshake. For Marcus, it was a rare moment to sit still and breathe. The trouble started quietly, the way most real trouble does. 2 men at the counter had been drinking since before sunset, their laughter sharp and careless. When the young waitress dropped a tray and apologized, one of the men grabbed her wrist too tightly, words slurred but intentions clear. The other laughed, blocking her path. People looked away. Some pretended to scroll on their phones. Others told themselves it wasn't their business. Marcus noticed it all but stayed seated, his instincts wrestling with fear. He had a daughter to think about. He had no safety net if something went wrong. He lowered his eyes, hoping it would pass. It didn't. The waitress tried to pull free, her face flushing with panic. That was when Rowan slid off the booth seat, her small hands gripping her father's arm. She didn't understand power or consequences. She only understood that someone was being hurt. Her voice, soft but steady, carried across the diner. "Daddy, please help her." Marcus felt something ancient and unstoppable rise in his chest. Fear was still there, but it was suddenly smaller than his promise to the child looking at him like he could fix anything. He stood up. Chairs scraped. One of the men turned, sneering, and shoved him without warning. Marcus stumbled but didn't fall. The second shove came harder, followed by laughter. What happened next wasn't graceful or cinematic. It was messy, fast, and fueled by adrenaline and instinct. Marcus moved without thinking, blocking a swing, driving his shoulder forward, using the weight of the counter to his advantage. One man slipped, crashing into a stool. The other lunged, only to be caught off balance and driven backward. Within seconds, both men were down, shocked more than injured, the room echoing with gasps instead of music. Marcus didn't feel victorious. He felt terrified. He stepped back, hands shaking, heart pounding, already imagining police lights and courtrooms and his daughter asking why he wasn't home. The manager called the authorities. The waitress cried quietly in the corner. Rowan stood frozen, eyes wide, not scared but confused. When officers arrived, witnesses spoke up, finally finding their voices. Security footage confirmed what happened. Marcus was allowed to leave with a warning and a weight heavier than before pressing on his chest. The night after was sleepless. Marcus replayed every second, wondering if he had ruined the fragile life he'd built. The next morning, he sent Rowan to school with an extra-long hug and went to work expecting the worst. Instead, by noon, his supervisor called him to the office, face unreadable. Waiting inside was a man in a tailored suit, calm, composed, and entirely out of place among forklifts and concrete floors. The man introduced himself as Adrian Cross, the chief executive officer of a regional hospitality group that owned the diner. He had reviewed the incident personally after receiving an internal report. Marcus braced himself for accusations, termination, maybe legal threats. Instead, Adrian asked him to sit. He spoke about his own childhood, about growing up watching people look away when someone needed help, about how rare it was to see real courage without cameras or applause. Adrian explained that the waitress had been one paycheck away from losing her apartment. That night could have broken her completely. Instead, it restored her belief in people. He told Marcus that he wasn't there to punish him but to thank him. The company would cover any legal concerns, the waitress would receive support, and Marcus was being offered something unexpected, a stable, daytime position overseeing safety and training across multiple locations. A job with benefits, predictable hours, and enough pay to finally stop choosing between groceries and rent. Marcus didn't know how to respond. He thought of Rowan, of her small voice asking him to help, of the example he wanted to set without ever realizing the cost. His eyes burned as he nodded, overwhelmed not by relief alone but by the realization that doing the right thing had not destroyed him. It had changed everything. That evening, Marcus picked Rowan up from school earlier than usual. They went back to the diner, but this time they sat by the window. The waitress smiled when she saw them, a real smile this time, no fear behind it. Rowan waved proudly. Marcus held his daughter's hand, feeling the steady rhythm of her heartbeat, understanding that courage didn't always roar. Sometimes it whispered through a child's faith in her father. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that small acts of bravery can ripple further than we ever imagine, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and stay connected with Kindness Corner. Your engagement keeps these stories alive. Before the ending, we have one special request. Please comment below with a single word that describes how this story made you feel. Your words matter more than you know. Marcus Hale never became famous. There were no headlines, no viral clips. But in one diner, on one ordinary night, a tired single father chose courage over fear. And because of that choice, lives quietly changed forever.